Welcome to this lesson on mastering Avid Media Composer's keyboard shortcuts. My name is Josh Short from Edit Video Faster, and this is lesson number 1. There are 9 lessons in total, and each covers a handful of keyboard shortcuts, and I explain how each of those actions work in Avid Media Composer. Besides the lessons, there's also an exam and other supplemental materials over on the website editvideofaster.com, and it's also linked in the description below. More on that at the end. This lesson is meant just to wet our toes in the world of keyboard shortcuts in Media Composer. This lesson covers Avid Media Composer's tools, and we're going to go over 10 of those shortcuts today. For each of these shortcuts, we're going to be hitting Command if we're on a Mac, or Control if we're on a PC, and one of the keys on the top row numbers, not on the number pad. Alright, let's just get going right into it. Here we go. Here's our first keyboard shortcut. To begin, hold down the Command or Control key and hit the number 1. This brings up our audio tool, and the audio tool shows the audio levels, basically how loud or soft the volume is, in a visual form. Once you hit play, the audio tool will show green and yellow and maybe red bars in the audio tool when there is audio being played. So let me just show you that real quick. And there's also an audio tool here on the timeline, but I do prefer using this audio tool when I'm actually trying to see my, my volume a little more closer. Let's close out of the audio tool and onto our second shortcut. Hold down Command or Control and hit the number 2. This will bring up Avid's calculator, and probably you may or may not have known that Avid does have a calculator, and you can use this to calculate, the length of a shot and all this stuff. I have used it maybe twice ever, so I don't know. If you use it, let me know in the comments how you use it, because I would love some more examples. Close out of the calculator, hold down Command or Control, and hit the number 3 key. This brings up the command palette, and the command palette has every button and just about every action that you can use in Media Composer. I have a tutorial on how to remap your keyboard and the interface using the command palette, and there's a lot more for it, but if you're looking for something and don't know what it's called, go to the command palette and you can search through the tabs for it there. Let's close out of this one. And for our next shortcut, hold down the Command or Control key and hit the number 4. And it looks like it didn't do anything, but what it did, it activated our composer, which is the source and record monitors, these guys here. So if I had the bin selected and I hold down Command or Control and hit 4, our composer gets activated. You probably won't use this shortcut too often, but that's what Command or Control 4 does. For our next shortcut, hold down Command or Control and hit the 5 key. This is where you want to go to set some default media settings for any new media in your project. So let's say you have multiple hard drives hooked up, you can set which hard drive to create media to. So if, for example, we went to import, we could set a default video resolution, and we could tell it what drive to create our media to automatically, and we can always change that thing while we're in like the import setting, but we would just be setting the default here in the Media Composer settings. Alright, let's close out of this one. And for our next shortcut, let's hold down Command or Control and hit the 6 key. This will bring up our console, and you can do some serious damage in here if you don't know what you're doing. Do not use it unless you are 100% certain that you know what you're entering. There's a purpose for the console, and over the years I've used it a handful of times, and each time just holding my breath while I use it. I can pretty much promise you're not going to need the console for 99.9% of your projects, but you know where this is and how to get there. Seriously, don't use it unless you know what you're doing. Alright, our 7th shortcut, hold down the Command or Control key and hit 7. This is going to bring up our capture tool. And, you know, I miss capturing some days, but it is a kind of an old process that isn't really done anymore. So if you're capturing from a tape with a deck, you're going to need the capture tool, and you're probably not going to use this ever. And if you are, let me know and I can try and walk you through that and what you kind of need to use the capture tool, but that's for a different tutorial. Let's close out of this. And if you hold down Command or Control plus 8, this will bring up our effect palette, and this is where you access all the effects in Media Composer: your 3D warps, your time warps, your paint effects, your horizontal wipes, some audio effects, and more. I am on Media Composer 8.4.4.2, something like that, and I know this looks a little bit different in 8.6, which is the version of Media Composer at the time of this recording, but it does the same thing. So in the effect palette, if you click through these, let's call them folders, inside each one there'll be a different set of effects that you can drag and drop onto a transition or a clip. Close out of this one, and if we hold Command or Control plus 9, that's going to activate our project window, and this is our project window right here. If you click this X, that's going to close out of our project. So whenever you're inside a project, that project window is going to be open, and this is where all of your bins and the folders are stored. And you can also get to things like your effect palette and all your settings in here as well. And let's not close out of that one. And let's go to our last shortcut, which is Command or Control plus 0, and that just activates our timeline down here. And the timeline is the lifeblood of your project. Whatever is in your sequence, that's what's going to show up in the timeline. Alright, so that's it, guys. That is it for lesson number 1 of mastering Avid Media Composer's keyboard shortcuts. If you go over to the website editvideofaster.com or click one of the links below in the description, you'll find a blog post for all of these shortcuts and some pictures that go along with it and written text that sums up everything that I just said here today. And also you can find the Avid Media Composer Keyboard Shortcuts exam and a quiz, and there's other supplemental material for mastering Avid Media Composer's keyboard shortcuts. There are 9 lessons in total, so this was lesson 1, so there's 8 more to do, so go ahead and keep watching and go over to editvideofaster.com to take the rest of the lessons. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave a comment or reach out to me, Josh at editvideofaster.com. Thank you so much.